Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Women Who Rock with Success, a digital media for entrepreneurial women. Women are profiled on our digital platforms for branding and networking opportunities. To advertise on one of our shows, just go to our website at www.womenwhorockwithsuccess.com and submit a request on our advertising page. Did you know that we also report stories with top-notch media communications? Editors and reporters can submit credible and validated stories to our media source. Just go to www.topnotchmedia.org to learn more. The conference will begin in a moment.
And good morning and welcome to the show. This is your show host, Ms. Diane Winbush, and we're so thankful that you tuned in with us after Women Who Rock with Success. So on today, let's retrack on some topics that we have been discussing, and it has been in regards to COVID-19. And, of course, one of them was in regards to prison reform. But today we will be talking with a special guest, and her name is Ananda de Geneste, if I'm pronouncing that correct. And so she will be our guest, and she will be talking about child molestation, because we know that the month of April was Child Abuse Month and awareness, and then she will be discussing about her book, and then she will share with us some personal journeys that she has experienced herself as to what led her from that point as to the book as well as to her career. So good morning, Amanda, and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Diane. Thank you so much for having me.
Great. We are glad that you're here. This is a very sensitive topic. I don't think that it actually receives the amount of focus and attention. So I am so happy that you took the opportunity to be with us to be able to help us with this challenge. So tell us a little bit about you, Amanda. How did you get started? This is before the book, and we're gonna. This is before your career and before the book release. We're gonna start off as a child. As to telling us a little bit about you, and then we can be able to go also into the challenges that you faced on this topic.
Okay, thank you. I was born in Trinidad and Tobago and migrated to the United States when I was 10 going on 11. I experienced child molestation during my young years when I was in Trinidad, and started writing poetry as a teenager just to express myself and to write down things that I was confused about. The writing helped me to process what I had been through, some of the things I had been through. Of course, I didn't realize it was a form of therapy, but I kept writing throughout my years. When I came here, I went through quite a bit of difficulty in my life, but I kept trucking with God in my brain and faith. I was brought to the point of being a detective investigator with the district attorney's office, still writing in between then, and when I realized when people around me were going through difficult times, I would share a poem with them in regard to the situation they were dealing with, and they were so comforted just knowing that someone had been through what they went through and expressed the urge for me to get that message out to other people. Hence, I decided I was going to write a book.
Okay.
Yeah. And here I am with you today. Very excited. Yeah.
Great. We are excited that you are here once again because a lot of times women, this is kind of like a cousin, if I could make that notation to sexual harassment. And so this is a subject where I think women, they hide in the shell. They do not discuss. They do not share. Sometimes it may take years for women to be able to open up to child molestation. So let's get a view of why, in your experience, everybody has a different format as to how they see things. So in your experience, what do you think that may trigger child molestation? Because I know sometimes people may already have like a pre-existent pedophile type of spirit,
Yeah.
And so in your terms and the experience that you have, what do you think was it that caused it? And sometimes it may not be an excuse. It may not be a answer, but I just wanted to kind of throw that out there to some of the listeners in the audience so they can be able to kind of get a view as to why certain things happen the way that they do.
Okay. Well, in my particular experience, I believe that the perpetrator, the abuser, was that of a pedophile. My first abuser, yes, because I wasn't the only one. Growing up, I heard stories that his children was molested by him also. So I believe that in his particular case, it was the act of a pedophile. I have had other experiences where it was children close to my age that were experimenting. It can be caused, yes, it can be caused by different triggers in a person's brain, and no one. I mean, we cannot determine just by looking and speaking to a person as to whether or not they are a sexual molester. Anyone, any older child or adult can touch a child for their own sexual gratification. That's what a child molester is. And, yeah. So
go ahead. Finish. Go ahead.
It's hard to say who is a child molester, and it's hard to say who can be a victim of child molestation. Any child, girl or boy, 13 years or younger, can be a victim of child molestation.
Okay, and so in previous, I guess, documentaries that has played out on television, and then some of them have played out, I guess, in real life. Why do you feel does not have, I don't want to say that this has something to do with you personally, but just to ask the question, why do you feel that some parents are less reluctant to believe their children once they come in and they go to their parent and they report it? What is the narcissism with the parent as to why they cannot believe it?
There's so many different reasons. It could be because the abuser is someone close to the family. That could be one of the major reasons, because 90% of abusers target children in their family or children that they know well. So when you love someone, it's hard for you to come to terms with the fact that this person you love is molesting your child. And when a child reports that to a parent or caregiver, of course, that's one of their main concerns, one of the victim's main concerns. So it's very important to stress to the victim that it's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. And again, another reason is shame. Plus, there's there's always this taboo when it comes to kids and sex talk. It's not something that people of the past and some of today actually sit and have with their children, teach them body safety, talk to them about sex. So sex has always been that taboo topic. But you know, it's time to break that culture, time to get rid of that and speak to our children openly about sex, because that can actually prevent them from being a victim.
I agree. Sometimes parents will condone certain things and may not know that they may be opening the door for child molestation to exist. So with that being said, too, another question that I guess I would like to address to the audience as we know that children may not have a lot of resources. They may not have a lot of tools. They may not have a lot of access. So where can a child go in case they are at the home with their guardian or the child molester may reside in the home with them? You know, sometimes people molest people at church. I know a family member of ours that she's about 60 or maybe 70 years old right now, and she just forgave her child molester, and he was in a church, and her mama didn't believe her because she was way up there, you know, on the platform with a lot of titles and different things like that, in which, you know, we have to be still coherent even when we have religious titles. But so she's about 70 years old. She just forgave her this pedophile, in which he had a very high position, like a bishop or apostle or something like that. And so she just forgave him like around the age of 65. So How does that damage a child for carrying that type of weight around for that long?
Well, let me first say, again, I'll repeat myself, anyone can be a child molester. Anyone. It doesn't matter what type of job they have, what title, what relationship they have with the victim. Anyone, male, female, anyone can be a child molester. And it is important when your child is telling you the story not to keep asking this child, well, are you sure? Well, say it to me again, because the first thing the child needs when they report is that assurance that this responsible adult that I'm coming to is going to believe me, is going to hear what I'm saying, and is going to protect me. So in a case where a child is not is not reaching the person they're speaking with, that's why I always say it's important for us to identify to our children at least 3 or 4 people that we consider responsible adults, and teach the child from infant stage. Show them on their finger 4, Daddy, Auntie Lisa, Uncle Victor, Auntie Sandra. These are the 4 people. If anything makes you feel uncomfortable, if anyone does anything to you, or you need any type of help, these are the 4 people that you can go to that will always protect you. It is important that we teach them to identify more than one person. And there are numbers that they can call when given the opportunity. They have the Child National Abuse Hotline. They can go to their teacher. They can speak to any police officer. They can even dial 911 if someone's abusing them, and they will get help. There are so many outlets that they can reach out to. in a situation of child molestation or child sexual abuse, or even just child abuse, being beaten.
Oh, wow. Well, I guess that is correct. I guess it can be in a religious factor. It can be anywhere. Anyone can be a child molester or what have you. Just, I guess, some certain occupations, I guess, certain roles, certain demographics, you would kind of, not think that it would, I guess, exist there. So that's the reason why I guess I brought that question up as to, how effective would that be on a person, period, just to carry that around up until 65 years of age. So with one of the statistics, and this is just something that I'm going to throw out here to you. It's like an additional foreplay I want to put in there. And so there are almost 1,000 children that they have had reports on in the state of Mississippi. And some of those cases, they're stating that the cause of it was because of poverty. So do you feel that which I don't think, it may play a part in this particular state, but it did not play a part in the lady that was 65 years old, because she come from a real well background, financially, probably I would say middle class or something like that. So in that position, why would you feel that poverty plays a factor as to 25,000 cases in 1 year? This is not talking about over a period of time. This is 1 year in one state, that would play a factor as to children being abused in the child molestation area.
Me personally, I don't think poverty has anything to do with the way a person thinks and the opportunities that are presented to them when it comes to victimizing a child. It goes to what you're teaching your children. We all need to share the fact that child molestation exists. We need to be teaching our children body safety, and it's always good to have supporters that are on the same thinking level as you when it comes to child molestation. Now, I'd go back to 35% of molesters are parents. And I'm not trying to play that number down when I reiterate that 90% of abusers target a child. I have read so many different articles where the rich and famous, people you'd never think were child molested or were victims of child molestation. So I really have to go back to the thought in the abuser's mind to commit this act towards this child. I really personally don't feel it has anything to do with poverty. Because
and go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Because these children go to school. They have teachers they can reach out to, counselors, school administrators, parents of their friends. They have all these outlets they can reach out to. But why are they not reaching out? A lot of times it's because they're not being taught to reach out. They're not being told, I trust you, you're my child, I will protect you no matter who it is. And a lot of women, I shouldn't say a lot, there's a percentage of women that a child would report to, and that woman would not report to the authorities because it's either a stepfather, a boyfriend, a husband, and they think about the situation of being in the home, and that person, the abuser, is the main the main income that's coming into the household. But again, we cannot forsake our children. They are the future. They are the ones that are going to take care of us tomorrow. So we have to invest in them. And that if investing means reporting the fact that this crime was committed by a father, a brother, a boyfriend, a stepfather, and you lose that income, there are outlets they can get help with income also. We're weighing it out here. What is more important, the well-being of your child, or to live in a nice home or a decent home? We have to give them that opportunity to grow and feel safe.
I agree, and perhaps maybe with their statistics, with that state, they perhaps maybe, I'm not for sure, because as you stated, it's in the mind of the person, so anyone can be a child molester, as well as there are other sources to reach out to. Maybe the child perhaps may be afraid, but it starts at home, as you stated, where the parent needs to be more vocal, more communicable with the child, and more open and accessible to the child, where the child can be able to be free. So a case that a music teacher had shared with us back here, I don't know, probably about 7 years ago. And so while being in that profession, I think the child came to school, reported it, and once the child came to school and reported it, they investigated it. And so due to the fact that I'm not for sure what was the issue, I don't know if she had lost her mom or her mom was not living with her, but the father was the guardian in the home. And so instead of him, going in, making modifications to his behavior, whatever he was doing, he went in there and used a religious tactic and cut the child's hair off because the child reported it. And so what could they do from there? They could not do anything. So I think that it's not enough lobbying. It's not enough attention on the subject and the topic. I think people need to come out, and maybe it's not enough for groups. I know they have the Carl Perkins Center here in the South where individuals go immediately to a caseworker, but it has to be a little bit more, because I would think that would be like an offense to the child if you're going to cut my hair off just because I went in and told them that you're bothering me. I thought that was totally, that was redundant for him to do that. But that's what cut the I guess the bridge between the parent and the school, because now I have used this religious tactic. Now you can't touch me because I'm using this as a form, the reason why I'm retaliating against her for telling it, but I'm using a religious, it's perverted. It was just ridiculous.
It is, and the government official, I feel, can do a lot more when it comes to the safety of the children. That should be the forefront. So
I absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Amanda.
Of course, I feel that parents and people like myself, survivors, we all need to get out there and pose these questions to our government officials in regard to sexual child molestation, sexual child abuse, child sexual abuse, so that this is not something that's covered by anything that, let's take the pandemic, for instance. Some people are blaming the pandemic for so many different things. The truth is, I know, the truth is the pandemic is forcing us to look at the things that we need to look at, because it's bringing light on so many different things that needed to be attended to, especially when it comes to child abuse. The virus didn't cause child abuse. Child abuse has been going on from day one.
Correct.
What we're doing now, I can speak for me, and I know that the RAIN organization is paying attention to the children that have been mandated to stay home with these abusers.
Okay.
Who are they gonna reach out to? How are they gonna reach out to someone? Because there isn't a system in place for this type of disaster when it comes to child sexual abuse. And one needs to be put in place. If there isn't one, then it needs to be brought to light. There is one, and let's start using it because our children need it. But
absolutely,
yeah, the officials need to pay more attention to this matter.
Absolutely. I think also the judge, I can't recall her name right now, but I know she spoke out about it, and so I felt that she was trying to bring more awareness that due to the COVID-19 crisis, the children are even more vulnerable. And I think she serves in I don't know if she was a family court judge, but I remember seeing her on television, and she spoke out about it, very aggressively, stating that the caseworkers, and that's another thing, and that I feel that it needs to go back to the way it was when I was a child back in the 70s and the late 60s, where the caseworkers go back and visit the homes. I think that child abuse has grown more since they have taken the caseworkers a little bit away from the parent and the child, and so it has increased up, way up there. So take, for example, at St. Jude Children's Hospital, which is kind of nearby us. They deal just only with children, but they had to go in there and arrest one of their nurses for child abuse, and it was all over the news. It was a big mess. Yeah.
It can be anywhere. The RAIN organization, decided. I read an article in The Hill where it was telling that the RAIN organization, which is one of the largest anti-sexual violence organizations, started monitoring data in regard to the coronavirus and sexual assault. And what they noticed for the first time was minors were the majority of the callers since the pandemic started. And it wasn't just for sexual abuse. It was just to get support and guidance in regard to their fear of being in the home with their abusers. So we know that this is a problem, and it needs to be brought to light, and they need to give it as much attention as they can, because the children need to feel safe. They are due the right to feel safe.
I absolutely agree with you. I absolutely agree. So we're going to go to the next segment, and it's going to be talking about the purpose and the reason why. And, of course, we know that child, of what some of your past experience was in regards to the occupation and field that you served in, and you're retired as of now. So tell us a little bit about that as you being, retired from the Police Academy.
I served in the Brooklyn DA's office as a detective investigator, and 7 years out of the 21 years I served as a lead detective for crimes against children. And being a survivor helped me to be more empathetic, be a better listener. I found that I paid attention to the small details that someone who didn't experience child sexual abuse would normally recognize. I recognize those small details. So being a survivor of child sexual abuse really helped as far as dealing with other victims. It helped me also to encourage the victims and their supporters that with the right help as soon as possible, the victims can live a great life. It was very rewarding for me to be a part of the Crimes Against Children Bureau, especially coming from the aspect of being a survivor. So that it's a hard job, but it, like I said, it was very rewarding.
Okay, great. Because no one is excusable for crimes that they commit, but it's kind of disheartening as well as to hear certain individuals when they get ready to plead their case, offenders that is, they bring up the fact that the reason why they were involved with, or not involved, but the reason why that they encountered so much anger down through the years because of the child molestation. So take, for instance, the case with the Detroit mom back here in, I don't know, it's been a while, a few years back, and it's titled the Freezer Mom, where she had went in and she had put her children in the freezer, left them in there for about a year, and I think she put another one in there and left him in there for about a year, and what have you. So, anyways, when the court trial came up, she and we reach out to her right today. I don't care. I certainly do. I reach right out to her in prison because I did not see. I saw the part, and I understand it was wrong of what she done, but I was reaching out to her in regards to the fact that no one ever listened. It was her mom's best friend that went in there and molested her, did all of these horrible things to her, and it caused an enragement in this woman for so many years. And then when she tried to, later on, she tried to get her children's father to come in and help, and it was just like a disarray, and I felt that it did a mental damage to her more than anything, because once they showed her information, her house and all of that on the news, it was trashed. So with the next question, when a person has been through so much, who steps in to be able to help them from going to the point where they lose? I felt that it was like a mental issue that transpired there in order for her home to be in a disarray that the way it was. It was just totally, I think it was something mental had went on. No one ever listened to her and things like that. She tried to tell the people about her mom, or she went and told her mom, talked to her, look, your best friend and stuff, and the best friend was a woman. It was not a man. And I know what you're saying and stuff. Anybody can do it.
Yeah.
But, that was strange right there. So here she is. She's growing up as a child, all of this anger in her. And so her mom is allowing her best friend to fondle with her daughter, and she has no one to talk to, even though it's wrong now for her putting her kids in the freezer. But I reach out to her because of the child abuse fact. Go ahead, Ananda.
It is a known fact. Research shows that every sexually abused child suffers with at least one type of disorder, be it emotional, physical, psychological,
You got it. I don't know if you're tired.
Right. But they can suffer with at least one type of disorder. And that's why I feel being vocal about child sexual abuse is so important, because people need to understand that not only is the child being sexually abused, but psychologically, the child is being battered and tormented in regard to this. And we, again, I point out to our children who are the responsible adults that they can go to. More programs should be held in regard to it in schools to teach the children who they can go to, what sexual abuse is, who can be a sexual abuse abuser. The covering up, the day for covering up this type of thing, it's gone. You know what? That's played out. It's played out because children have suffered, children are suffering, and they will continue to suffer if we do not take this on full blast. We must come face to face with it. Shame is a feeling like any other emotion. We get past that. Damage, psychologically, some people never come back from it. We're talking thoughts of suicide and suicide. We're talking what you said, the abused person, they don't get the help needed, and they end up taking a journey of early pregnancies, teenage pregnancies, promiscuity, which was a part of the journey I traveled. Teenage pregnancy was a part of the journey I traveled. The low self-esteem, it's so much. The after effects are so bad at times. Some of us can't pull ourselves out of it, but there is help. There is help. There is help through the National Child Abuse Hotline. There is help through the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network Organization. There is Darkness to Light, Child Abuse, Child Protective Services. There is help. All you have to do is ask. We cannot keep it covered. In order for us to grow, we must talk about it as a society together.
I absolutely agree with that. I absolutely agree. With the next question that and then after we discuss this question, then we'll move on to your book. That'll be the last segment. So I had an opportunity to meet and to somewhat work with this organization. She was a nice lady, and she had support, I think, from the state as well. And so I don't know if they were following up on her, but I felt that I was there for a purpose, for the little time that I did to work with her. And there were some girls that were coming in. They were 10 years old with their wrists slashed. They were, of course, some of them were pregnant, and it was like a teen ministry, and she did a wonderful job. But I had to go in there and I had to rough her up a little bit. I did. The lady that was over the program, I roughed her up. I said, "Don't you know that you can get in trouble and be cited with this organization for you not reporting this? We're going to get in a circle and we're going to pray." No, you don't. You don't supposed to be praying. You can pray later. You need to report this behavior that these children are coming to your classes that you're providing for them after school. And, you know, she was providing meals. It was a wonderful organization. But she feared to report the abuse. And I told her, I said, that's an obligation that you have. Of course, I'm going to be praying with you and what have you, but you have an obligation as the organizer, and you're the CEO, you're the president of this, and you're seeing
Yeah.
these little girls come in here and their wrists are slashed, they want to kill themselves, you know that they're being fondled because she was telling me when she would go and pick up the children sometimes, she would feel, the ones that did not have transportation, she would feel that something wasn't right when she pulled up on the parking lot or their driveway or whatever resident that they had. And so I told her, I said, that's your duty. Didn't you know that? Or didn't they explain that to you, that you had a obligation to report that? Because we're going to take this podcast, and it's going to be on 20 or 30 radio stations. So that's the reason why I'm asking all of these questions from you, to make sure that the segment is covered, so people will not have an excuse as, oh, I didn't know who to contact, I didn't know that was my position, I didn't know. People just make up so many excuses.
Right.
So I want you to kind of touch on that before we go into your book a little bit, as to why organizations, they know that there is, I felt that she knew it because this lady is very intelligent. Why do sometimes the organizations will conceal the information themselves?
I personally cannot tell you why they would conceal the information, but the CEO or the head of an organization, as you would say, is to an organization that takes care of children, that takes care of minors, are what we call mandated reporters. They are mandated to report child abuse. CEOs of companies of organizations like that, social workers, doctors, teachers, police officers. These are all mandated reporters. They are mandated by law to report. Otherwise, they are now being a part of the child's abuse, because they have the opportunity, they have the knowledge of it, do not report it, and thus far the abuse continued because of an act that they did not take.
I agree. So, and it's saddening. And like I said, we're finna move on to your book. It's kind of saddening. And then I couldn't get her to I think she understood it. She just perhaps maybe felt that if she would report it, she, perhaps maybe would lose funding or something like that. I don't know. But we're going to talk about your book. So just to know, let you all know that you all are on notice, organizations, that you are mandated reporters.
Mandated, yes.
So let's talk about your book and share with the audience. We've got a few minutes left. Share with the audience your takeaways of what you want the readers to grasp when they purchase your book. What is it that you want them to grasp from the details or from the preface of your new release?
In my book, I paired the poetry with narratives, describing the environment in which the abuse took place and the helpless thoughts the child had during the abuse, that child being me when I was a child. I paired it up with these narratives so parents and caregivers can recognize, so that their antennas can go up when they see some of the signs from both the abuser and the victim. I want them to know that the abuser can be anyone. And there are certain things you look for, certain signs you look for from the child. Unexplained anger, bedwetting, not wanting to be alone with that person. In the book, I also give an example of the disturbing journey one can have when help and or support is not available to them. I had the support of my family, but unbeknownst to them, I was going through this. So I want parents to know how important it is speak to their children about body safety and about sex and private parts, and no one should be touching those parts or showing you their parts. And I want the victims to know that there is help. There is help, and they can live a happy life. They deserve to have that happy life, that to feel safe and free.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what is the next chapter for Amanda? You know, I know that you have spent most of your career in child molestation advocating, because even though it's a book release, it's still like a tool of advocacy of, you know, standing up for children and also sharing some of the effects that you have went through yourself. So what is the next chapter? Will you continue to pursue in child molestation and child abuse, or you're on the road to other journeys as well along with the child molestation?
Well, I am going to continue pursuing the prevention of child abuse. I also have a foundation that I bring health awareness to law enforcement officers, called the Sunny Archer Law Enforcement Foundation. So I want to break the silence of hypertension. I just want to break all those silences, you know, break the silence of hypertension, break the silence of child sexual abuse. And I just want to help. I believe in giving back. Yeah. I believe when we go through a journey, it is not to hold it within ourselves. It is to pass it along to the younger generation, so they can see perseverance through anything. So yes, I'm going to continue on advocating for those who cannot advocate for themselves.
Oh, that is so sweet. That is so sweet. I love it. I love it. So tell the listeners how they can be able to connect with you, how they can find you. If you want to share any master classes that you're, and share with them how they can find your book. Share with them how they can be able to find any of your social links that you're willing to share with the audience as to how they can follow you and follow your brand and product.
Okay, thank you. If they have any questions, they can email me at author@i-am-anda.com, or you can inbox me through Messenger on Facebook, I-am-anda. If you would like to purchase my book, it's immediately available at www.store.bookbaby.com, Barnes & Nobles, Amazon. And if you'd like to purchase a signed copy, reach out to me at the same email, author@i-am-anda.com. And I'd like to leave them with an excerpt from my book, I Am.
Okay, go ahead.
Don't do this to me, please. For the rest of my life, I will have to take you with me. This heavy load you force upon me. In my sleep, you will become my nightmares. No child should ever have to live in that type of fear. When I speak, you will be at the tip of my tongue, hanging on to my words and hoping I don't tell anyone. Please don't do this to me. Help a child escape child sexual abuse. Thank you so much, Diane, for having me on.
Oh, wow. Wow. We have heard your heart today, and that's what the audience needs to hear. And we thank you so much, Amanda, for being our guest on today. And thank all of the participants for being with us to share with your story, share with your brand, share with your new book release that you have for individuals, and also the efforts and humanitarianism that you work with the police department and other areas that you,
yeah,
organizations that you come in and you try to make sure that voice is heard. So listeners, for all upcoming events, you can go to our website at www.womenwhorockwithsuccess.com, which follows every Tuesday at 9 o'clock a.m., which followed by Women Who Rock with Success Investigates at 10 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time. So until next Tuesday, you be safe. Thank you so much, Amanda.
You too. Thank you, Diane. Have a wonderful day and stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the show on today. Tune in each Tuesday for more resources and news from our resources. Enjoy your day.